All right, free radicals, welcome back to the channel. I'm Dave. Thanks for watching. As the channel continues to pivot, again, I'm going to be talking honestly with the audience. And if you think I'm piling on, or if you think my motives, I have no other motives. By the way, I'm not motivated by profit, because this is not going to help my channel. How I built this channel was on the fact that I would talk very glowingly and positively about Tulsi Gabbard. And now I'm being alerted to things that maybe I was kind of blinded and put blinders on and said she's just so much better and just leave me alone. You know how you get that? You can get that about anything. You can get that about your spouse. You can be married to somebody and that person is abusive and this and that, and you think to yourself, well, but I'm married and this is... And by the way, when you endorse and get involved in a political campaign, it is a lot like a relationship. It's a lot like a marriage. And I think people won't admit, well, my spouse is doing what? No, not him, not her. No, I know them. They wouldn't do that. You see it all the time, and people just don't want to come off of that. Because number one, they invested. And number two is they're prideful. They think to themselves, I'm not wrong about this. And I'm wrong. I'm telling you on my show here. A lot of people won't step up and say, I was wrong. I was wrong. And a couple of people have reached out to me and said, you know what? That takes a lot of courage to do what you do. There are these progressive commentators that just run at the mouth about everything and they never admit they're wrong. They say, I miscalculated. They try to just... It's why I can't trust anybody. I literally can't trust anybody. Jimmy Dore, and I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's the guy that I probably trust the most right now. Nobody is perfect. Okay? Nobody. So, this comes from antiwar.com. Antiwar.com, which is linked off of my channel. There are a couple of links on the banner. I've always had antiwar.com up there. They don't just write articles, they write small books. Okay, their articles, I think, are the equivalent to maybe a 50 or 100-page book. I mean, you really have to get into it and digest it here. And originally this article was put out, War, Peace, and Presidential Candidates by Medina Benjamin. Medina Benjamin runs Code Pink. And guess what? She is truly anti-war. She's truly anti-war, and she's unwavering. She's unwavering. I would support Code Pink. I would send them money. That's an organization that's fighting for sanity. And by the way, Medina Benjamin holds people accountable. Also, Code Pink resistors when it comes to Venezuela and other countries that we want to just go and occupy or do regime change or tell those people, hey, this is how you ought to run your government, and if you don't, we're coming in to fix it for you. So anyway, she talks about Tulsi Gabbard here, and for some reason I never read this article. While most candidates shy away from foreign policy, Congressmember Gabbard has made foreign policy, particularly ending war, the centerpiece of her campaign. She was truly impressive in March 10th, on her March 10th CNN town hall. Those are the days where they allowed Tulsi to go out in public and talk. And I'm still bitter about the way she was treated. There are things that won't change. Gabbard promises to end senseless wars like the one she witnessed as a National Guard officer in Iraq. She unequivocally states her opposition to U.S. regime change interventions, as well as the new Cold War and arms race with Russia, and supports rejoining the Iran nuclear deal. She was also an original co-sponsor of Congressman Ro Khanna's Yemen War Powers Bill. But here's, folks, this is what, again, you've got to read stuff. But Gabbard's actual voting record on war and peace issues, especially on military spending, is not nearly as dovish as Sanders. Interesting, because Bernie was getting thrown under the bus, and deservedly so, because he wasn't specific. But they're saying here that Sanders voting on military spending was better than Tulsi Gabbard. She voted for 19 of 29 military spending bills in the last 6 years. So it's like 2/3. And she has only received a 51% peace action voting record. I'm going to have to look into the peace action voting record and use that as a benchmark. Many of the votes that peace action counted against her were votes to actually fund controversial new weapons systems, including nuclear-tipped cruise missiles in 2014, 2015, and 2016, an 11th U.S. aircraft carrier in 2013 and 2015 in various parts of Obama's anti-ballistic missile program, which fueled the new Cold War and arms race she now decries. Gabbard voted at least twice in 2015 and 2016 not to repeal the much-abused 2000 authorization for the use of military force. Wow. And she voted 3 times not to limit the use of Pentagon slush funds. In 2016, she voted against an amendment to cut the military budget by just 1%. Gabbard received $8,192 in defense industry contributions for her 2018 re-election campaign. All right. Gabbard still believes in a militarized approach to counterterrorism, despite studies showing that this feeds a self-perpetuating cycle of violence on both sides. She is still in the military herself and embraces what she calls a military mindset. She ended her CNN town hall by saying that being commander-in-chief is the most important part of being president. As with Sanders, we have to ask, which Tulsi would we see in the White House? Would it be the major with the military mindset who cannot bring herself to deprive her military colleagues of new weapons systems, or even a 1% cut from the trillions of dollars of military spending she has voted for? Think of what's going on now. Supposedly, we're all going to get to share in the $2 million or $2.5 million that is considered, a bailout for ordinary people, providing you don't make too much money. I mean, it's means tested to some degree, but it looks like it might be okay. I don't know. I'll have to read that as well. Otherwise, I might get duped again. And then she goes on, or would it be the veteran who has seen the horrors of war and is determined to bring the troops home and never again send them off to kill and be killed in endless regime change wars? Now, see, I've changed. Okay, I'm not just endless regime change wars. I'm endless. I'm just, again, against endless war of any kind. Endless war of any kind. Okay, there's got to be a specific mission. We've got to have an imminent threat, and it's got to be something that's very tangible and very easy to understand. And it can't be couched in different language. So again, if this stuff doesn't bother you, and there are people now over on Twitter saying that doesn't bother me. I want to be tough on terror. I want to do this. Really, after all this time and it's not worked, you want to still just stay the course? Look, imagine the infrastructure we would have had in place, or we could have had in place. It would have taken foresight, and it would have taken money, and those two things we obviously weren't prepared for when it comes to COVID, right? It just we weren't prepared. We were caught off guard, flat-footed, whatever. So the trillions that Medina mentions here, the trillions of dollars, imagine if that money was put into medical infrastructure. Seriously. I mean, Medicare for all would be so easy. Oh, how are we going to pay for it? I don't know. How is Wall Street pumping trillions of dollars, literally trillions? I mean, this is just, the human mind can't comprehend what's happening in our financial markets. I tried to listen to Dylan Ratigan yesterday. I couldn't wrap my brain around what he was saying. He was on with Jimmy Dore. The first 15 minutes were just a fog. He said a couple of things that I kind of understood, But we're in uncharted territory now when it comes to what we're doing to the financial markets in order to preserve the financial markets and to keep these large businesses from going under or keeping them solvent or whatever it is. Imagine if we put that money into medical infrastructure. And you wouldn't have a mask shortage, probably. We would be prepared for a pandemic. And this, by the way, is a threat to our homeland. This is war against a virus. And if you're going to have a military mindset, you should be having it right now when it comes to this problem. So she has a 51% peace action voting record. She voted for 19 out of 29. And you know what? People said this to me, and I ignored them a little bit. At the onset of this, she's still better than anyone else. And that's the rationale. And I'm not going to settle. I'm not settling. There are 3 candidates I am aware of right now that have a true peace message. They wouldn't just slash the military 1%. They would try to slash it by 50. And I agree with that. I 100% agree. Dario Hunter, Green Party. Howie Hawkins, Green Party. Okay, those are 2. Lincoln Chafee, Libertarian Party. And yeah, there are various libertarians over there that you might like that are also willing to do it. I'm more green-oriented because, again, the libertarians are going to sell you out when it comes to financial issues because they're going to say, oh, no, government can't do this. Government can do it. Government needs to do it. We're in favor of it. Most Americans want to see solutions to these problems. If we can bail out industry, and look, libertarians would be consistent, say you can't bail out industry as well. I guess it's how you view monetary policy and how you understand money and how it works and so forth. That's how you know. That's how you know what to do in a crisis like this at this stage. But most Americans, they're just looking at this very basically and saying, why should large corporations be bailed out? And why should the military be this giant? I did this video on Rockfin where I had this map of all the places that were busy doing either military exercises or drone strikes or on-the-ground combat. And it's scary. It's scary. And it says here she was unwilling to cut the military budget by just 1%. She received money from the defense industry for her 2018 re-election campaign. Wasn't a lot, $8,100, but she received some money. So, this isn't trying to pile on, folks. It's that, you hear that, like, are you a purity tester? Yeah, I'm getting to be a purity tester because these events affect me and my family. I have a 6-year-old. I have a 15-year-old living here at home. I have an older son that lives away from me. He's a young adult and so forth. These things can affect you directly. This isn't BS like, foreign policy doesn't matter, and if we go to war, that doesn't matter. It's going to help the economy if we go to war. Really? Because we're going to the wrong war. We have a war right now. We have a war on a virus right now in our country. But yet, we've been too busy decade after decade doing this stuff. And you can't be a dove and a hawk at the same time. You can't be a dove and a hawk. It just doesn't work. And and Bernie Sanders here, he's got some of the same problems, but, apparently he's only voted for 3 out of 19 military spending budgets. Interesting. And I think, again, I said on Twitter that I was duped. I've been duped. I know. You're going to tell me, like on Twitter, you're going to say, I wasn't duped. I'm not duped. I understand. Okay, great. But see, these are facts, okay? And it's hard to argue with facts unless you're Donald Trump and you have alternative facts. These are facts, and you can sit there all day long and say, oh, you're mean. You're turning against her. You're this, you're that. Yeah. I'm all of those things. Just ask my kids. I'm the meanest dad on the planet. Just ask my wife. I'm the worst husband that's ever lived. You know, you people need to get a grip. Telling me to get a grip on Twitter isn't going to help me get a grip, because time is of the essence. And all this garbage about, 2024. Yeah, okay, great. 2024. I want action in 2020. We got a senile candidate, and we've got a guy who is really lousy for the country. Okay? Senile and lousy for the country. The people like Trump, you're not going to persuade them. You're not going to. So what you need to do is mobilize the people that don't like him, and you need to mobilize against him with people who care about issues like this. And for some reason, you can't even talk about anti-war. This regime change thing isn't enough. It's only part of it. We've got to be busy about not going to war, reducing it by half. You know, if we could do that, imagine all the money that we'd have here at home to fight coronavirus and anything else that comes our way. Any other mystery virus that comes down the pike here. Yeah. All right, people. I'm done with this video. For those of you who are sticking with the channel, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. For those of you who have left and aren't coming back, I'm sorry. I am who I am. I'm being true to myself. I know that's painful for some. I know I've had disagreements. I know I've blocked people now on Twitter. And look, we're all a work in progress. Every single day I wake up and I try to do better than the day before, and I fail. I usually fail. And I ask for your forgiveness and your understanding that maybe I misled you. Maybe I was misled. Maybe you think none of the above. I don't know. This is something I think that you need to read. Again, this is originalantiwar.com, Medina Benjamin. This article was written on March 27th, about a year ago. And it's entitled War and Peace Candidates, and I think you need to go read it. And you need to read all this stuff. If you don't believe me, this is a very good website. This is a true anti-war website. Ron Paul writes over here, obviously. And these are people that understand that we can't have this as the basis of our country. We shouldn't. It's morally wrong. It's reprehensible. Blessed are the peacemakers, okay? Not the warmongers. Pretty simple. All right, I'm done. See you soon.